Josh, welcome back to another episode of the Modern Game Podcast. A couple of weeks ago, we recorded our thoughts on capped mode and prioritization of essentially where we, would put our best players with the game modes as it was. And I think we always intended to come back and sort of review after a couple of weeks, see how we had got on. But since then, there has been a pretty major change. And that major change is that ETH prizes have now been added in the All-Star competition. So, if you look at the sort of level that we're playing at, I think it pays down to 30th in All-Star Rare Pro. It plays down to 100th in All-Star Rare. I think it's 300 in Limited.
Yes.
First thoughts from you, like does this change how you'll be approaching your mega week next week with all of your RPL cards back? That's the question.
Oh, I love this change. I especially like this change because it rewards people for doing well at the game, which I think it should be a thing, right? If you finish in the top 100 in All-Star, what's All-Star normally have? Like four? Oh no, that was midweek. I think it had 4K entrance. I don't know, like 8K entrance. I have absolutely no idea.
I think it pushes like 8-9K
Rare.
entrance at the weekend.
Yeah.
All-Star Rare.
So if you finish in like the top maths 0.01%, no, that would, if it was 10,000, what would it be? 0.1%?
Top 1% would be 90. So yeah, it's top 1%.
Is it?
1% of 9,000 is 90, right? And then 10% is 900. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Sorry,
It's all right. I'll let you off, Matt. You're suffering through illness this week.
I am. If you finish in the top 1%, I think you should be. I think that should be good. You should get rewarded by that. And I think the thing that people want most out of Sorare that they are not willing to give so much is obviously cash prizes. So I think this is a really positive change. In answer to your question, am I changing my strategy next week? The answer is actually no, believe it or not. Nice. So this is just like cool for me because I think this is just going to make Challenger a bit softer, because I think more people will play like, well, I suppose they already did play their smashers in like All-Star Pro and All-Star Rare rather than Challenger Pro and Challenger Rare. But now there's even more incentive to do so. So yeah, I will go against the grain on that and still stick my best lineup where I want to play it.
Yeah,
probably won't be an All-Star Pro. I mean, saying that, I'm running like a Celtic stack against St Mirren in All-Star Pro, so it's not bad. But I mean, Zenit have Krilla at home, so yeah, it's probably not quite as good as that. So, but yeah, in terms of the changes, I do really like them in the All-Star competitions. I've always been an advocate of like, the higher you finish, the better prize you should get. I don't really like the argument that it's like, oh, this is just giving more money back to the same accounts that are always at the top of the leaderboards each week.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're either good at the game or they've invested a load of money. Like, what do you expect?
And also, and
we have the cap tournaments for beat the game elements anyway. So you can't have the people moaning about it. I think can't have everything. But.
Yeah, so, I agree, and I think as well is it does feel like there is something for everyone now, or more of something for everyone than there used to be. Because if you think about it, before it was podium or bust, right?
Yeah.
So that was really difficult because I think it is very, very challenging to break the podium on a regular basis. And then obviously we had the threshold, which was just like so incredibly easy to hit that you could kind of set a team in your sleep and still get there. Now I think it really does mix things up quite a bit. I think that there will be a lot of people, myself included, that will look at the ETH prizes in All-Star Rare, All-Star Rare Pro. I think for me, I always tended to prioritize All-Star Rare Pro, but All-Star Rare, a lot of the time I was just kind of going through the motions, like hitting the threshold quite easily. And if I got the T3, then happy days. Whereas now I think I will look to strengthen that a little bit more. But as you mentioned, the impact of that is it's likely to soften competition elsewhere. And, going into this weekend, two of the lineups that I've prioritized are Champion America Rare Pro. God, that was a mouthful. Just going to call it America D3 because it's just so much easier. And capped super rare 270.
Oof. Controversial.
Yeah, it is. But I think like what I quite like about this new gameplay is that there will be weeks where your priorities might change based on the cards you have available. Like particularly like the cap 270, for example. So my sort of thought process around this is cap 270 is insane. Like the scores required to win have been really, really high, but people aren't necessarily digging into why that is, and that's the captain bonus on it is 50%. So people have been looking at the scores required to win in the purest form and going, oh damn, that's really high. Might as well just go into All-Star, particularly with the ETH threshold now. And I've been sort of going through the motions of 270 in the past couple of weeks, knowing that it was like, your captain needs to hit big, otherwise you're kind of not, you're not doing anything. But I was looking through it this week and it just made sense. Like I got my players that I had all have pretty decent fixtures and come in like dead on the 270 cap. So it just, for me, I looked at it and I went, okay, well, actually, probably this week, I wouldn't prioritize it every week, but this week with a lot of the, MLS and K-League potentially coming back, I think a lot of people will have really strong cards that they will be looking at the All-Star competitions and saying, you know what, this is my chance to really compete in All-Star. So I am hoping that there is that element of, sort of softening of competition in the cap 270s, which may give me a chance to win something there. But I think the only reason that I put into cap 270 is if I think I have a genuine chance of top 10. Because realistically, if you don't think, there's no point in like going through the motions in those divisions, because if your captain doesn't hit, you've got no chance. But yeah, I think for me, I definitely want to be prioritizing All-Star Rare Pro, because that ETH just, the ETH prizes down to like, the where they are pretty decent. And that's like, you've got ETH then to get in and upgrade your teams elsewhere. But at the same time, looking this weekend, I think All-Star Rep Pro this weekend is going to be an absolute smash fest. And it's going to get even worse next week with Russia coming online, because, Sorare this week, they've already said, the prizes aren't going to increase in All-Star Rep Pro. I do wonder if the emerging issue with K-League coverage might have impacted that, because if Sorare we're looking at, calculate based on all covered licensed teams, then technically at the moment K-League is not covered. So for the way they calculate rewards, K-League would be essentially invisible. It wouldn't contribute to that. So that could explain why this has happened. The counterpoint is that, you're going to have players like Cecilia coming back online. Next week, you're going to have like Malcolm and Vendel and all that. Like, it's really high scoring players that are going to come in, strengthen lineups, but not have any impact on rewards. So that's sort of why I've tried to go against the grain this weekend with Champion America, because I think I've got a really, really strong Champion America Rare Pro side. I could put that into Global Rare Pro, but I think the competition is going to be so much stronger there. I think I have a better chance of winning a star in Champion America than I have winning a star in All-Star this week. And I think that sort of really played into my decision, because I think a lot of the time people say, well, the star prize pools are better in All-Star. That's undeniable. But the way I look at it is the team that I have, it might hit a star in America, but it might only hit a lower end T1 in Global. So then actually I'm not comparing star for star. I'm comparing, what's the points? Like, where would the points that I could score put me in America or put me in All-Star Red Pro? And I think that if I looked at it last week, the sort of points range I expect to hit would have been sort of star America, probably T1 All-Star. That was before, we've added in all of these MLS and K-League cards, which are just going to, because there's some tasty fixtures this week as well. So I think there's going to be a lot of goals to be scored. So yeah, I think that's sort of where I'm at, is sort of keeping a bit of fluidity to it, but trying to observe what the market does, and what I think the market is going to do is go, ooh, shiny ETH prizes, and boom, straight into All-Star. So
and who can blame them, really? Like
exactly. And I would if I felt I had the team to do it. But I think this week I've got a couple of injuries. You know, my two best super rares. I think Mamana's out. Enzo Lefebvre came off injured in the last game. He's potentially a risk. So, you know, that would have been my like two big hitting SRs that I would have been quite happy putting into All-Star Rare a pro, and would have been happy to sort of challenge for T1 and above. With the doubts over both of those players, I just looked at everything else I had and I was like, I don't think I've got the players with the lineups this week to truly challenge. And I think that's what I really like about the new game modes, is it's really gallery dependent. Like you will look at your gallery, you will know who you've got, who's got good fixtures, the sort of expected scoring range you think your players might hit, and then you have to be honest with yourself. I think I'm also suffering a bit because last week Enzo Lefebvre had a decisive removed by Opta on review.
Yeah, I saw that. An assist, wasn't it? I think.
Oh, it was brutal. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a lucky assist. But I didn't want to lose it. Like once it's been given, you can't take it back. You know? And I went from being on 355 points with 4 players and Otamendi left to play, who's normally good for a 50, 60 pointer.
Yeah.
To ending on 359 points and missing out on the prizes in All-Star Rare from 5 players because Enzo Lefebvre lost his decisive with a super rare bonus and Otamendi put up his worst score.
He scored 36, didn't he? I did
like
see
his
that.
Worst score in like 3 years. It was like, oh no, of all the weeks. So yeah, I think I'm still hurting from that a bit, and that's probably played in on my factors to think about America Rare Pro more. But it was one even before the ETH prizes. It was a division that I had some success in last year. So you know, I'm quite happy to do that. Just because I think it
excuse me,
it gives me the opportunity to, you know, I always want to be aspiring towards stars. Like regardless of where I win them, I want to be aspiring towards them. And it's like the question is, do I realistically think I can win a star in All-Star Rare Pro this week? I'm on the fence. Do I think I could potentially win a star in Champion America? Actually, yes, I do. So like that's what swings it for me. Don't get me wrong, I'd love those ETH prizes, but I think with that temptation, we have to be realistic and say, what are the bars? What's going to be the bar to win those prizes? And I think, you know, realistically this week, top 30 in All-Star Rare Pro is probably going to be 400 plus.
Oh, I think like 440.
Yeah, like it's going to be quite comfortably over 400, I think.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's do you think that your team can do that? Actually, I'm going to have a quick look. I want to see what it was last week. I'll let you fill in while I check and see what it was.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my teams this weekend come in. I'm having some real issues with, to be honest. Fernando from Salzburg's got himself injured again. Looks like another hamstring.
Oh no!
So he's going to be out for another couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really thin. I think I'm trying to figure out what. I think it's because I don't have Celtic. Yeah. So I've got no Celtic, which obviously takes, well, not obviously, it takes away 2 goalkeepers from me because I've got a double up on Joe Hart. So yeah, I'm only managing to get like 1 super red team out this week, which I'm going to play cap 240 to try and get the threshold again. And then I'm gambling on some Salzburg rotation. I'm actually just really light on players. I was looking at my gallery thinking, wow, I need to like buy some players. Like I want to buy like a super rare striker so I can get another super rare team out and stuff coming into this game week. And I looked at game week 351 and was like, Josh, you do not need to buy anything. In 351, I've got like 20 players coming back and they're all like ridiculously powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just totting it up actually. The Zenit stack with Uninstall has an L15 before bonuses of 350 combined. So, like, I've got 2 super rares in there. One of them is Kazayev with a 32% bonus. So
nice.
And this is the conundrum for me next week is like, where do I play that? Because that, you know, it's basically like 400 plus. I'm not going to say guaranteed because that tempts fate of a Douglas Santos own goal, Malcolm red card situation. But
yeah,
you know, obviously quite like that.
Well, context here. Last week, 30th place in All-Star Rep Pro was 428 points.
Yeah.
Realistically,
I think it's
this week with MLS and K-League, it's probably going to be maybe 440.
Yeah, 440 is what I thought initially.
With RPL next week, 450 maybe. Like, it's going to be some big scores in All-Star Rep Pro.
Some of the fixtures for the RPL next week as well are just, it's not even really worth. Like I said, Zenit have got Krylia at home. Oh no, Nizhny Novgorod at home, even worse or even better. And then like Krasnodar have got Torpedo, I think.
Yeah.
At home as well. So like, you know, if you haven't got, well, actually, it might not be great for Safanov because he might not do anything. But pretty much nearly like a guaranteed 60. But yeah, I'm very intrigued to see what the prize pool looks like next week, to be honest, Tex, because it will have a big bearing on where I put my lineups. So yeah, we shall see.
Speaking of extra players coming back online,
excuse me,
I had that this week with all of my K-League and MLS players coming back online, to the point where about an hour ago I just went and bought an extra super rare goalkeeper.
Wow, nice.
Don't get me wrong, like, I'm not expecting much from him. I bought Columbus's backup, and I paid 0.09 ETH for him.
Evan Bush.
Yeah, Evan Bush. So the reason I bought him is I looked and I was like, I've got a ton of super rares here, but I wanted to use my super rare Lanzalotta in Champion America because he's got a 30% bonus on him and they've got a wonderful fixture. So I reckon, you know, I wasn't willing to sacrifice him to chase, you know, a ETH payout in capped super rare 240. But then I looked at all the players I had in super rare and I was like, seems a waste to like have all of these just like sat in training or not doing anything. So I had a look and I saw that Evan Bush was on for, you know, less than 0.1. Considering the threshy payout for cap super rare 240 is 0.06, I could essentially get back, you know, 60% of the investment on that card in one threshold. And the interesting thing about it is the reason he's playing is because there's visa issues with Columbus's starter.
Right.
He might be back next week. He might not. So, you know, potential there. But actually, what we do have again this year is Gold Cup. And Eloy Room plays for Curaçao. And the likelihood is that Evan Bush will get another run of 4 or 5 games towards the end of June, beginning of July, when Room is away for the Gold Cup, because the MLS just kind of runs on through.
Yeah.
So that was what swung my decision, really, because then I'm like, okay, well, if I can potentially play a super rare goalkeeper in capped 240 super rare and win 2 or more thresholds, then it's been paid for. And, you know, don't get me wrong, he's got a tough fixture this week. Like, I'm not expecting him to do that much, but you know, anything more than 0 is an absolute bonus. And I think that it's quite interesting in looking at it that way, where it was just like the fixtures seemed to fall quite nicely for my players, and you know, it made sense to me to go out and grab an extra player, which, when you think about it, that never ever would have happened under the old game format.
No.
So it does add a bit of, like, you know, an element to the market where people are going out and saying, you know what, actually, maybe this is worth it for me. You know, there's absolutely no way I would have been buying a super rare 35-year-old MLS backup goalkeeper historically. But, you know, now I sort of look at the risk versus potential reward and think, well, I could actually win back the investment in him pretty much in 1 or 2 weeks, which comes back to a pod topic that we discussed in the past of older players being undervalued, and and you can yield. So yeah, I think this is an interesting one for me because I do have so many super rares in MLS essentially. So yeah, I'm really quite excited to see how this weekend goes, as long as Opta don't rug pull me on the K-League.
Which is looking increasingly likely.
It is looking increasingly likely. I honestly, like, I'm glad we've got some time between now and the deadline, because after this call, I'm getting straight on to see what time each game kicks off and how, like, what's like the, you know, the 48-hour window of will Opta send the data to Sorare in time before we close the game. So
Yeah, I've it's just this weekend is a case for me just actually like getting through it. I'm not really looking forward to this weekend at all. I guess like my goals from this weekend is to hit the Cap 240 Super Rare. And then like anything else is a bonus, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm expecting like lots of post midweek rotation in main lineups, and yeah, I don't really have that many good options.
Whereas I'm hoping to yield as much as I can before those pesky RPL cards come back online.
Yeah. I know.
You and your 2-year season-long bonus.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. I'd forgotten how overpowered it was. I was just looking at them like I've got 12% Safanov, 12% Naboa. It's just crazy, really. This definitely should have been stopped ages ago. By the way, the season bonus rule is a joke. And actually, I'm even more mad because the bulk of my Zenit cards are the previous seasons, so don't still have the season bonus. So yeah. Oh well.
I mean, I can't complain. I'm actually taking advantage of it because I this year randomly faced Soleimani and Kortrijk didn't get cards. So I'm running him in All-Star Rare Pro this weekend with a 12.5% bonus. I think I've got on him. So
that makes sense.
I do have a couple, but yeah, I just don't understand that rule. Like, the season bonus should just be for a season. Like, it clears up any of these like random edge cases where you've essentially got really OP guys just simply because they didn't get cards for any like random reason.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do you have is that it then for you this weekend? It's just sort of the Cap Super Rare that you think might.
Yeah, I mean, I've got like I've got part of an Ajax stack playing against Vitesse, which should be fine, but I'm sort of like, there was a really tough game against Union last night. And I'm semi-expecting some form of rotation. And then like the other big team I would normally rely on would be Zagreb, and they're playing the Eternal Derby against Hajduk, so not a particularly good fixture for them. And I'm really low on goalkeepers as well, to be honest. I'm having to play Jay Gorta in All-Star Rare.
Jay Gorta's got a cracking fixture this weekend. I was just looking through the XG data, and although Livingston are, I think, 6th in the league, they score fewer than a goal a game, and they're not particularly very good for away from home. So this could be Jay Gorta's time to shine, Josh.
There you go.
You might top 100. What's the rest of your team looking like? Could you push for top 100 with a Jay Gorta clean sheet?
Weindal, Seiwald, Marco Levaya, again playing Hajduk, and Bruno Petkovic. It's not great. I don't know, actually, I'm considering switching it to Cap 240.
Oh, nice. Like, that would fit under the cap?
Yeah, I think so, because Gorta's L15 is 27.
Oh, wow, brutal. I didn't realise it was that low.
What is it, 56, 116. Oh, wow, yeah, easy. In fact, it would fit under Cap 220, I think.
Yeah, but your Cap 2 to watch your Cap 220 upside like a tier 2
rare. Yeah, I'm not doing that, obviously. But...
yeah, it's funny. Like, I was looking at it. I was looking yesterday. The amount of L15 0 cards that are expected to start this weekend. Yeah. Like, I comfortably put together a list of 10 yesterday, and actually after that, I got messages from people being like, "Oh, don't forget this guy and 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 this guy," and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like that. Capped 220 and 240 this week. Be ridiculous. Like, there's I think at least 15 players in the MLS like that have either transferred or come back from long-term injury that are both fit and good to go. Because what tends to happen with the MLS is that they can, based on their roster compliance, they can like write a player off as being like unavailable for the season.
Right.
So even if they come back and they're available for like 4 or 5 games at the end of the season, if they've written them off as being on the injury register, then financially it doesn't make sense for them to bring them back.
Yeah.
So they just kind of play through the season without them. So then what tends to happen is you get these players that have actually been long-term injured, have been fit for a really long time. They have to wait for the next season. And this is what's happening with players like Brad Guzan and Robinson at Atlanta. So you could actually play a defensive stack this weekend, both L15-0. So, I mean, that would then open you up to spend like 220 or 240 points on 3 players, which would just be an insane waste because, could you imagine someone rolling, Cap 240 limited with an Atlanta defensive stack and then like Kimmich and Messi and Mbappe? I feel it would be a massive waste considering the upside. But I think that was, again, when you talk about prioritization and how you focus it, it's like, I have a couple of these low cap hit players to play this weekend, but I'm also fully aware of how many other people have really low cap hit players. And, you could actually do a full MLS team that would cost you 0. So like someone was DMing me earlier saying, "Oh, when capped 0, like just complete, no score on the cap hit whatsoever." So yeah, I think like, it doesn't make sense to play those guys in 270. It doesn't really make sense to play them in 240. Maybe one of them, but I just feel like the cap loads this weekend are going to be silly because there's so many people like that are just going to cost you nothing, essentially.
Yeah, I guess it's the one flaw with the cap system, isn't it? But I don't know. I definitely prefer it to them what they do with the obviously like the draft modes with the 40 minimum, which I think sucks.
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
it is what it is.
How have you got on with the cap mode since they have been introduced? Have you found yourself prioritizing them? Like, have you done any prizes?
No, not really. They're normally just leftovers, really, to be honest. When did they come in? 343. Yeah, 343. I think. Let me have a look. Yeah, 343. So we haven't had too many, have we? I've probably only played them on the weekends because my midweek teams have been pretty light. But 343, I beat the cap in rare and didn't play a cap 240 super rare. 345, I beat the cap in super rare but not in rare. 347, I beat the cap in both rare and super rare. And then that takes us to this weekend coming up. So yeah, pretty good. I've been enjoying them. They're just a better place to put my leftover cards than Specialist and Underdog ever were, really.
Yeah, no, I agree with that because you don't have to sort of like go searching for that like under 40 facilitator. You can use what you have.
Exactly.
I think it's good.
Just lob your leftovers in, which is I think is nice. And also like the like to do well in the Specialist and Underdog tournaments, you had to finish really, really high. And like with obviously cap, like you need to beat 250 points, and you're still getting some Ethereum. Like you're getting Specialist super rare, for instance, unless you were hitting the podium, like the upside on your prize was probably like 0.1 ETH or something.
Yeah.
And then getting 0.06 just for being 250 points with like an upside of a potential car prize as well. So I much prefer.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been funny for me because I've actually done better in cap 240 super rare than I have in cap 240 rare. Like I've just had a rotten run of luck in cap 240 rare where I played Ruud Vormer and he like broke his collarbone after like 15 minutes.
Oh, no.
He ended up like I missed out on it that week, and then last week I can't remember what happened. But again, like my rare side just ended up completely flopping. But my super rare side, in 3 weeks, I only played it twice because I only felt like I had the players to play it twice. But I've hit it twice, and in the first week, I ended up winning a T2 as well, which is actually like serviceable.
Oh, nice.
So I've been using him. But I think potentially this just comes down to like how I've been prioritizing them, because I think with my gallery, cap 240 super rare feels more like there's better priority there for me than there is, maybe like because my rare cards, I've got so many other places that I could play them. Whereas I don't see myself as being someone who's competitive in the super rare like open divisions. Therefore, I look more towards cap 270 and 240, and I've sort of been flipping between them. I think this is the first week I'll have played both. But I've sort of been flipping between them in sort of saying, okay, well, do I go to 240 or 270 based on the players I've got and the fixtures I've got this weekend? But then with the extra players that I've got coming back online this week, I've decided to go for it. So yeah, hopefully I can deliver something this week, because your upside, particularly in 270, is quite decent. Because I know one of the lads in our Discord won it last week, didn't he? And he pulled in Timo Werner and Kerher unique, which I thought, like, and again, it is boom or bust on these sort of 270 divisions. But if you can do well, then there's actually some decent prizes in that pool, which I think is quite nice. So that's definitely in my mind this weekend. Of like, I want to get, like, if I can win a tier 1 Super Rare, I'd be very happy.
Yeah. No, I think definitely that's tier 1 Super Rares are always, well, I say always good. I won Sem Stein for finishing 4th in a Challenge Europe Super Rare last weekend, who I managed to sell for 0.19. So that wasn't great, but it's always a nice. I always think they're nice to win anyway. Just got a bit unfortunate. But yeah, I haven't really been prioritizing 270 as much as I thought I would. I feel like I feel like I've actually probably haven't had enough players to because I've sort of been trying to play 240 to get the ETH, and then I play, like, obviously regionals and all-star. So yeah, just have been a little bit short on players, but that will change next week. I really didn't realize how many RPL players I had. It's like
a big chunk of your gallery, right?
Yeah, it's like a quarter of my rare cards.
So I know last week when we were sort of talking about the market and the reaction, and how potentially stabilization could come from existing managers, like, have you felt yourself edging towards buying new cards, like that you can play as a result of these increased game modes? Because I know personally I have, but I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I had to buy a new goalkeeper. I bloody hate buying goalkeepers. It's no good. But as mentioned on the pod a few weeks ago, I did go out and buy myself a rare Igor Akinfeev.
You went and got him?
Yes, for 0.225, which I thought
was
just ridiculous. So I got an Akinfeev, and then I've since last time I've bought loads of new players, I think. Why has my club section disappeared on Sorare?
It's changed. They've changed it now.
What? So, this is ever so weird. Okay,
I know. They've dropped some new UI on us this morning.
Yes. So I've also bought Junior Alonso, who was at Mineiro but has gone back to Krasnodar.
Nice.
He's going to start, and he plays Torpedo next week, and I've got 11% bonus on him. So yeah, superb. I made a trade to get rid of Luke de Jong and bought in Luke Charel Geertruida Rare, who scored 100 last weekend, and Mikhail Sadalek Super Rare in that trade. So that was good fun. Been really wanting to get rid of Luke de Jong for ages. And then I also bought Stefano Vecchia Super Rare, who is Rosenborg forward, for 0.12 Ethereum. So yeah, I've been doing a little bit of buying, just trying to like strengthen up some areas of the gallery to try and play these new tournaments. And I think the goalkeeper was I needed another goalkeeper for 351.
Yeah.
So that was why I bought in Akinfeev.
Yeah, I'm going to say I could be quite tempted as well. Actually, I need to have a serious look at him for next week. Look and see at the lay of the land and how my cat modes end up looking. So I think he could be quite a useful pick for that. I mean, personally, I've gone more rare, so I've gone for like quite a few big hitters. So I know on the last pod I was talking about trying to get like a Status in. So I managed to get him in. I also managed to get Lucas Salarayan in, who I think is a really, really nice piece for my America gallery. And then the last one I got in, and I just got him in yesterday, is a player called Reese, who he's back in K-League 1. 2 seasons ago, he was in K-League, but his side unfortunately got relegated. He did a season in K-League 2, but has now gone to a much, much stronger team in K-League 1. So I'm quite excited about him. He's sort of a floating left winger that takes sets, pretty solid on the AA, and is in a much possession dominant team than he was in the past. So I think those are like what I've been trying to gravitate towards is those sort of really strong rares that I can use in an all-star rare, I can use in an all-star rare pro, because I think that's where, particularly over the summer, I want to be focusing my efforts. So, I've traded away a fair few cards. I've traded away a lot of my limited cards because I just was looking at it and saying, realistically, where am I best placed to compete? And I'm best placed to compete in rare and above. Like, I was kind of going through the motions in limited because I've had some luck in specialist. I won limited Pedri, I won limited Alejandro Balde. Like, those two alone, like, more than covered my investment in limited. So even though I'm selling some of the cards for less than I paid for them, like, what I actually yielded with them was great. But I feel like my limited gallery was like poor, like average at very best. And I was sort of looking at it and going, okay, well, what do I want to do? I want to yield. Where do I want to compete? Rare and above, which, if you think about it, is quite brilliant game design from Sorare.
Yeah.
Because historically, managers of our size gallery were going, well, the best ROI is in limited. Like, why? This is insane. But like, you were sort of not forced to play there, but particularly limited specialists, like what you could win versus what you'd actually spend building a team, like, it was just really, really out of balance, like horribly so.
Yeah.
And it just ended up creating this like warping factor to the demand, because people were incentivized to play down rather than play up. And I think the reformatting of the games has actually changed that. And particularly for myself, it's changed my priority. I'm looking now, historically, that money that I spent like on Evan Bush super rare today, that would have probably gone into a couple of limited cards, because I would have, wanted to play limited specialists.
Yeah.
So I think that that's one thing that I think is really good about the change, because it keeps limited as that entry division and incentivizes people to look up rather than looking down. So I think that's been just sort of my observed behaviors and how I've been prioritizing. I feel that that's been a really welcome change for the overall market, because I don't know what my latest gallery valuation is. I haven't really looked, but I think when you have a gallery of like 30 ETH or above, if the gameplay is designed in such a way that you're looking at the entry scarcity, then something's gone a bit wrong. And I think that to me, I feel like that's been addressed with these changes, which I think is really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's positive. I think it might have been something just about my general, like, in anything I do, I want to try and be like as high as I can possibly go. So that's why I didn't really like playing limited initially, because it felt like I was like stepping down in the game rather than like trying to progress up, if that makes sense. But logically, it was definitely the right thing to do, wasn't it? I guess, like, just like you say, the returns were better. So I think adding more accessible competitions at super rare level, like, I think lots of people's put off for super rare was like, you could either play in regional or all-star, where like you would just, if you had a budget team, you would just get demolished by really, really good teams.
Oh yeah, you couldn't compete at all. Like,
exactly,
I learned that very quickly. I aspired to go to the Challenger super rare division. I got battered, and it set me back months. Like, trying to sell out of those super rares and strengthen in rare, it was it wasn't pleasant.
Yeah, so I think that has been addressed now, and I think there's a lot. Obviously you can play the 220 or the 240 or the 270 and still try to improve your gallery position. I still feel that the prizes in super rare are poor compared to rare, and to be honest, compared to limited. Like, I think personally the threshold should be bigger. Like, I don't know Sorare's business model or how much Ethereum they're willing to pay out or whatever. But I think the super rare threshold, and this is probably me saying it because I would hit super rare threshold and therefore I would get more money. So, rose tinted glasses and all that, and probably looking for a bit of confirmation bias. But I think if you actually want to carry on getting managers to progress up the game and make your most expensive cards more expensive, is actually adding, not having like a $100, $250 thresholds for the super rare and unique divisions, but having it like $200 and $1,000, or $250 and $1,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And
I think
then,
this is a big consideration, isn't it? Because I think at the moment it's like, what is it? It's $5 for limited, 50 for rare, 100 for super rare.
Yeah.
So like if you look at the multiples, like if you follow the rare is 10 times limited, super rare is only double rare. It feels like the balance isn't quite there, and I do feel there's definitely headroom to increase that that threshold in super rare in particular. But I get it. Like we're both people that would definitely benefit from that move, so we're both in this scenario very pro something that we perceive to benefit us.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's it's always difficult with Sorare, isn't it? Is where like how you obviously that would be great for us. So that is something that we would want. But I think for overall, like for the game as well. And again, you're going to get if they did something like that, you're going to get lots of people being like, oh, rewarding whales more or whatever, it relative to limited managers, is bad. But I just think it would make people more motivated to try and climb up the scarcities, and also make their biggest ticket items more valuable. Like we're seeing a huge decline in the unique market. Like what some of the ones I've seen have been quite, like, what was the one Courtois one the other day was quite scary. Why can't I find this? How on earth do I spell his name? Here we go. So the Courtois rare a year ago sold for 53 ETH, which was $122,146 at the time. And then 9 days ago sold for 9.35 ETH, which was $12,315. So like a 90% reduction in dollars. Which I just think this can't be like what. I just don't understand. And I get that, like, obviously crypto bear market, crypto winter, etc. Less big investors coming in, splashing money about than there was a year ago. Totally understand that, but I think there does come a point where you have to try and make it a bit appealing. And yeah, if you increase your cash payouts at that level, then to something I think is fair. Like I'm not saying that $250 is unfair for beating cap 240 unique, but I don't think it's out of the question that it could be more if needs be.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the question is, how many people are even playing it? Like, let's have a look and see this weekend, like who's actually got a lineup in. So they keep on reordering stuff. Hang on. So there's 84 managers that have managed to submit a lineup for cap 240 unique.
And you don't need 5 uniques, am I right? You just because you can play 1 super rare still.
I'm sure correct? You can. Hang on. Yeah, 1 super rare, 4 uniques.
Yeah. So.
And then in cap 270, there's 22 managers. If we compare that with super rare, 804 managers are going for cap 240 super rare this week.
Wow,
that feels quite high. Yeah. 200 managers now in cap 270 super rare. I'm quite surprised by that. Where are we looking at? Challenger Europe.
Yes, there was
348 in All-Star Super Rare.
Okay.
So there's definitely it feels to me like the Super Rare capped modes are getting more competitive.
Yes. Well, maybe I was wrong then. Maybe they don't need to award more ETH. Or not need, but maybe they,
I do wonder how many of these are complete punts, though. I'd be interested to see the score required, because maybe you've got a lot of people that've got really super cheap, like Asian cards that are just punting. How many were there last week? I'm just trying to have a look and see how many there were in last week. Cap 270 super rare. Oh, okay. So there's actually 220 managers in cap 270 super rare last week, but only, less than half of those scored more than 270 points. So there is a ton of people just going through the motions in cap 270.
Lobbing stuff in there and treating it as glorified training, I guess.
I think so, yeah. That's what it does look like. because if we look at it, I mean, I won a prize last week in capped 270 with 328 points, and I was second last in the prize places. The bar for winning was 327 points was for a prize. Don't get me wrong, I didn't get much of a prize. Realistically, you need to go 400 plus. Podiums around 430-ish. That's sort of what you're looking at. Like you got to ask yourself, if you're going into 270, can I go significantly above 400 with the captain bonus? Because if not, don't bother. Like honestly, my T3 last week was like a Turkish left back who is most likely going to get relegated. The T3 Super Red Pool is not a fun place to be fishing. Let's put it that way.
No,
but you know all about that, Josh, from your challenge.
I do. But I think the ETH prizes could be addressed at the higher levels of the game, to try and get people to spend more money up there. I mean, obviously selling a digital card for $12,000 of the Thibaut Courtois this season unique is not a bad thing. That's fine. But when the previous one went for 122,000, I'd maybe start to. I suppose what I'm coming back to is I just feel like over the last 6 months, everything Sorare has done has been geared towards free-to-play managers or, the bottom of the game, which is fine. I think they have some licensing legal things in France, don't they, where they have to prove that the game isn't gambling, and one of these ways is by having a large free-to-play player base. Because then you can say, look, we have a free to play model, which obviously can't be gambling because you're not it's free. So I think that's probably the reason. But I do think that maybe like the upper echelons of the game has been neglected quite significantly. I don't know. Maybe people will disagree, but like the unique division was, what was the division that used to just pay out 4 ETH in cash for the winner?
Something global unique, maybe
unique something. I can't remember
the one you mean.
That's obviously gone now as well. I remember AJ used to target that quite heavily to try and win the cash prize. But I just think that it, maybe it's time that there's some thought going into improving that area of the game, not just the free to play aspect.
Because it pulls everything up, right?
It should do in theory, obviously. And I think lots of people have said before that it doesn't, or the effect is minimal because the top accounts treat it as like a mini ecosystem for themselves. But it should do, if they're obviously winning cards and then selling them, or to managers aspiring to get to that sort of level, then that would be helpful. And obviously, if they're winning chunks of ETH and then spending that on the market, then that increases market activity. I suppose the only thing you can't guarantee is that they don't just win chunks of ETH and then take it straight off the platform. Obviously that might be a risk you take, but it'd be interesting to hear some people's POVs on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking of winning chunks of ETH, does ETH prizes for All-Star Tournament throughout the summer, does that tempt you to strengthen your summer lineups, or does the RPL become your summer lineups, because it seems to run for quite a while anyway?
Yeah, so RPL runs until 3rd of June, I think. 6th of June, I think. Yeah. So first weekend of June, whatever. And then it's back on the 17th of July, I want to say. I'm not sure if that's been officially confirmed yet, but I'm pretty sure. 15th of July, sorry, 15th.
So you'll have, 6 weeks?
So I have 6 weeks, and I've got all my Rosenborg players, which I'm going to run there.
So we're not able to tempt you over to the MLS just yet.
Oh no, I won't be playing in the MLS. So no, my plan is to just run some sort of Eliteserien based team in Challenger, because it's the only league active. And don't get me wrong, the Challenger prizes will be awful, but there's literally like maybe 3 or 4 accounts on the game that can put a full lineup out at pro level, rare pro level. And to be honest, like I've got the Duke Laurent unique, so if I can get an Andre Hansen super rare cheap enough, I know there's one on the market for 0.6, then I might be tempted to run a super rare lineup throughout that time,
Mm.
because there'll literally be like me and probably me that can run 5 out of 5 cards in super rare when it's just the Elitisiran in Challenger. So we'll see.
Nice.
This is obviously providing that they don't sign any new Elitisiran or add on Alsviken coverage. But from conversations I've had with some people, I do not think that will happen anytime soon.
Yeah. Whoa, watch out, watch out. He's dropping knowledge bombs. Yeah, I think that's interesting, isn't it? I think as well, I think with the issues with Peru and the now emerging issues with K-League, I do feel Sorare are probably going to be more hesitant to add additional coverage, unless it can be guaranteed that they can maintain that.
Yeah, I mean, with these issues, I am slightly concerned that Elitisiran will just like not be covered when it rolls around. The thing I'm most concerned about is it rolling around and Sorare being like, "Oh, there's only one licensed team in this division. This like tournament really shouldn't be open," and then changing their T's and C's to be like, "Oh, there must be at least 3 licensed teams in a league for it to be deemed a licensed league, and therefore
is it just Rosenborg?
Just Rosenborg. That's it. Yeah. So that's
when do they get started again?
5th of April, I think.
Okay, little while then.
Yeah, but then they run through to Christmas, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm quite tempted to make a trade off of. Actually, does he still have it? Quinny's Carlo Holst that he won the other day. That would be. Oh, he does still have it. So yeah,
got some live trading.
The last one went for 1.3 ETH. Not really sure what I'd give up, but don't know. Possibility.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Summer strategy. I'll keep working on you. Get you to buy Gil or Sestinia before the summer's out.
Well, yeah, we'll see about that. I need to find another Enzo Fernandez. I think. It was January last year. I bought Enzo Fernandez.
Yeah.
Because I bought that River Plate stack in January last year, and then sold them all bar Enzo Fernandez. I think when Argentina came back, so it would have been like this weekend, I guess, last year. And then held Enzo for a little while longer before selling him. But I think that was my best trade ever in terms of ETH value.
Yeah, because he was very cheap and then suddenly very not cheap.
Yeah, 0.12 I got the rare for, I think.
Oh, nice. He's actually my the card that's won me the most amount of prizes. I've won 22. Really? I've won 22 cards with Enzo Fernandez rare.
Guess what mine is? Guess what mine is? You'll never guess what mine is.
It's going to be something really, really niche, really random. It'll be like
Can I give you a clue? Can I give you a clue? It's a goalkeeper.
Oh, it's not Kershakov, is it?
No, it's Remco Pasveer.
I should have guessed that. I thought it was going to be like Krugovoy or someone like that, just like rotates into Zenit really regularly, and or Conor McGregor. Out here winning duels. Mine was Jesus Ferreira for a very long time, but he's fallen some way behind, considering Enzo Fernandez seems to have played for about 18 months straight with no break. So I've got Jesus Ferreira. He's got a podium place to battle for, so I'm hoping for some more action starting this weekend against Minnesota. Hopefully Dallas can have a good season. But yeah, I'm quietly optimistic about this weekend. So I'm hoping that it doesn't crash and burn, and we can be celebrating some successes when it comes to lineup prioritization. That's for sure.
Yeah, me too. One more week for me to wait, so I will look forward to that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I hope you are feeling better soon.
Apologies to listeners. I imagine that's been a bit of a struggle because, not been feeling particularly well. I think I must have caught something on the plane back from Paris. I did 2 COVID tests, but they've both come back negative. So yeah, not great, but hopefully be all right.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I hope you're feeling better soon. That has been all from us. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. See you next time.